So the exact method of the way your machine holds onto the thread is going to be a little different. So if you need help threading your machine, make sure you look up like your exact model, and there's usually like a billion videos on how to do it. The principles are there's something that holds your thread in place, and then you have these little different hooks that are called tensioners, or at least I call them tensioners. When you run it through the tensioners, it's going to keep it consistent in how it comes out. You also need a bobbin for the matching thread. My bobbin winder is built into my machine and it's right on top. And mine sounds kind of crazy because when my son was 2, he decided my sewing machine needed to be thrown on the ground. It still works, but it just makes a noise now. And I also have to use my fingers to balance out where the thread is going on, which is usually automatic. So now your bobbin is wound nicely. I cut my thread. That's also a thread cutter on this machine. And now I'm getting my thread through my needle here at the end. And then I'm also going to install my bobbin. I had an old bobbin in. My case is kind of standard for this brand of machine. And so I'm just gonna kind of do that and not worry about telling you how to do this as much. One other principle that's gonna be kind of the same across the board is you have different attachments for your machine called a foot. If you didn't have it, you'd have this needle sitting here and there would be nothing to help push the fabric through, and it gets pretty crazy. I've tried to sew with just this and I don't recommend. So this is a pretty standard foot that comes on a machine. It's pretty flat and it doesn't do too many tricks. I'm going to use it because I'm guessing that that's what most beginner sewers have. But on any other time that I'm working with this thick of material, I'm gonna use this thing that's called a walking foot. Now this guy is big and bulky and it was weird to learn how to use it, but it's so cool. So it lifts itself up off the fabric instead of pinching it, and that keeps it from like stretching and wiggling. So I use this one a lot, but if you're a beginner and just trying to decide if sewing's even for you, then you don't need to invest in one of these. I just wanted to show you what they look like because they are nifty little tools. So I just had to use my top thread to scoop up my bobbin thread. And again, this is something specific for my machine. I like to have a little tail of each thread so I can see both of them hanging off the end before I start. So now we've covered those basics. I'm going to take one of my pieces and we're just gonna start sewing. So I drop my foot down directly on that line, and I'm using my pedal below and my hands to help guide this fabric through in the right spot. You don't want to sew over pins. That's a sin in the sewing world. So you pull it out before you get to the part where you're sewing over it. And take the time to pause occasionally and make sure that nothing's going too crazy. When you're not using the walking foot, it pulls more on the top layer of fabric. So if this starts to happen where it lifts up, just pause what you're doing, pull it back down until it lays flat again. And then here's a fun trick. Instead of stopping sewing right here, we're gonna just jump right into the next piece. And it's gonna make these like all connected, and it's really fun. I don't know, it's kind of fun to cut them apart. My mom was not a big quilter until I really got into it, but I do remember, that one poked me, sitting with her at our kitchen table when I was like no more than 5 years old and cutting these little pieces apart with her. That was like my job. And you'll also find your sweet spot in how fast you want to sew. I'm going pretty slow because that's just how I sew. And then I normally would sew all of this whole stack of pieces together at once in one big line and then flip it. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to show you how it looks to flip it right now. So we have that one piece. You want to make sure that everything's laying flat and still nicely like lined up. And you're gonna just do the same thing going across here. I also have a setting where my needle can stay up or down. This little button tells me like when I stop, it stays up or down. For quilting, I usually keep it down just because when I do stop, it holds it in place. If I leave it up and I pause, it can slide around a lot more. So for precision, if that's an option for you, try leaving it down and see if it works well. Just gonna cut this off real fast to show you. Now we have the X. I'm going to iron this and get rid of those lines and you'll see them a little better, but this is how it looks on the back. It's so nice and neat, and it's going to be really fun to sew all of these pieces together like this. So I'm gonna finish up making my X's and then we will meet back at that point. Once all of your pieces have their X's sewn on them, you are going to need an iron to erase the marks on the fabric that you did with the pen. So I'm just taking my iron. It's like on a high temp because the flannel can handle it. And I'm just running my iron over those lines, and it's so fun to watch them disappear. Once we have all of our X's sewn, we're going to make a pattern, and this will be how our quilt looks when it's all done. Your pattern can really be anything you like, and it doesn't even have to follow like an official pattern. I am just playing with this, laying it out, so it's gonna be 4 rows by 5 rows. I think it's fun to like line them up diagonally. That's kind of traditional with this pattern of quilt, this style of quilt, the rag quilt, but you can do whatever makes you happy. So this is one option of the layout. This one is the first version I did, where I kind of picked this like moon print to be the main character, and then everything else was based on that. This one, I picked the plaid, and then everything else kind of accents. It really doesn't matter too much because it's gonna look beautiful anyway, but just pick your favorite, and then once you get to this point, we're ready to start sewing the pieces together. Now this is a good spot if you want to take a picture to remember what the layout looked like. That can be really helpful. I am going to take my pieces and start pinning them together the way that I want to sew them. So when I first made this, I confused myself a lot because in normal quilting, you take this and sew it so that the seam is tucked behind the fabric. And then that's when you add the backing piece and everything, so all the seams are hiding. In this one, you want the seams up in the front because that's how it makes the cute little raggedy thing. So you have to pin them with their back sides together. And I just put a little pin up here at the top, and I know that that is the seam that I'm going to be making. If you want to just make sure you're getting it all exactly as you want, you can follow your picture and refer back to that. I am going to just take these top 2 pieces, pin them and sew them so that I can make my first row. So something we haven't talked about yet is called seam allowance. My machine has all these little marks here with all these different numbers. I have this tape here, and then all of these are also telling me different numbers. And it's saying is the distance away from the needle when the needle is in the center. Not every machine is fancy enough to move the needle. Mine can. If you don't think yours can, don't worry about it. That's not something that comes up unless you're doing like specialty things. So this is just telling you how far away the needle is from that line. When you're sewing, in typical quilts, your seam allowance is going to be 1/4 inch, which is the 1/4 inch mark. And that's the space between the stitching and the edge of the fabric. In this quilt, our seam allowance is going to be a lot bigger so that we can do all those cute little cuts. We are going to work with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. If you don't have a 5/8 inch mark on your machine, you can also use a 1/2 inch. That will be okay. So while you're sewing, you just want to keep those 2 pieces, the edge of those 2 pieces, right in line with your 5/8 inch line. And then once you open it up, it's got this little fringe here, it should be about 5/8 of an inch wide. And we're just gonna repeat that and do that across the whole thing. And now that I've put this together, I realized that this I want to be directional, and now I have it going the wrong way. So I'm going to get out my seam ripper and fix that, and then I will do the rest of the row. So if you're like me and you need to change what you've sewn, no need to stress. So if you have a seam ripper, it'll have something like this at the end. Take your seam that you put together and you kind of pull it, not like super tight, you don't want to rip the fabric, but you pull it tight enough so that you can see that thread. And then you just take this and carefully cut that thread all the way down the line. So you can do that. My grandma is way cooler than me, and she does it something like this where she flips it and she just like rips it, but I don't recommend that if you're not practiced because you can cut your fabric. Another way to do it is to go in on the seam, so I have it folded just like it was when I was sewing, and you cut about every third or fourth stitch, and you're just like taking the tip of that seam ripper and you're slicing through the stitch so that when you go to open this up, you can just rip it and it just like gently pulls out the fabric. It's just all up to you and what feels fastest to you. And it also, my style changes depending on what I'm working on too. I have yet to make it through a sewing project that I didn't need to unpick something. So if you're like me, welcome to the club of imperfect quilters. Okay, now I have to look at my thing and make sure that I had, so I'm referring back to my picture to make sure that I had things lined up. Have them lined up now the way I want them. I'm going to go back and do my 5/8 seam allowance again. So now here's what I wanted to do the first time. One thing to check for is that all 4 layers of your fabric is visible in this. That way you know you're not missing any little pieces, no squares ran away. And then once that's all good to go, then you can go on to the next piece. I am checking this time for directionality to make sure that I have it lined up the right way. And that matches my picture of my top row. So I know I can sew that and put it together. Now I have these pieces done. I'm going to take this and do the same thing. And I still got extra threads to pull off from where I had to unpick. But I'm gonna do the same thing and we're going to stitch this to make our top row. A little pro tip is if you want to get these to look like they're lined up perfectly, you can always pin, and that will help keep things from shifting around. I also like to look at where these X's are lining up. You can kind of feel it while you're holding the fabrics that if the stitches are lining up in the same spot, you know it's straight. Now we have our first row done. So I'm going to sew all of my rows together and I'll meet you back at that point. Once your rows are all sewn together like this and you have your little set of 4, we're gonna sew them to each other. I am gonna start with this one. Now this is a step that is required in most quilts, but it is not necessarily required in this one, but it will help things stay neat. So what I'm doing, it's called pressing a seam, and I am just ironing each one down a certain direction. So this one is all going towards the left. You want to make sure you get all the layers and get them as flat as you can. And I have a whole video dedicated to pressing seams, why it's important and how it works and everything. So one row is pressed this way. The other row that you're going to be sewing to it is going to be pressed the other direction. And you've probably noticed by now, you're starting to get this fun like crisscross effect. That is why it's important to make sure these lines are straight so that this stays consistent on your whole quilt. It's really fun when it's all done and you can see it all. Next, we're gonna take our 2 rows and put them with their back sides together, and we're gonna sew them. So the reason we press these seams in alternating directions is now when we line them up, you can nest this middle part, or sometimes you call it, I call it kissing. The seams are kissing here. Those folds come together nicely, and it's gonna help you get clean corners on your quilt. And just like we did down the sides, we're gonna sew this with a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Another fun thing is if you hit your 5" seam allowance correctly down the sides, when you get to this point, you're gonna see that you're sewing right over the cross of your other seam. And that's just so satisfying. So I stop and start again because I'm making sure that my fabrics are adjusted properly and that their layout is neat. You will likely also have to stop and start quite a bit, and that's just fine. It's just a way that we're making our quilts nice and neat, is to stop, start, make sure we have all the layers underneath here. One thing that happens if you're not using a walking foot, which I talked about in another video, is the machine tends to like pull the top layer faster than it pulls the bottom. So when you're sewing, you're gonna start getting points like this that don't match up easily, and you just need to adjust for that. So I want to make sure my corners are nested properly, which means that this is a little bit gappier than the top. While you're sewing, you can accommodate for that difference by pulling more on the top and letting the fabric kind of distribute itself across there. See that right there? How there's a couple inches that my thread is like attached on the top. I ran out of bobbin thread, so it never alerts me when I run out, so you have to just kind of restart. If I had been paying more attention, I might have seen that. So I'm just gonna rethread my bobbin, fill it back up, and then I'll fix that little part. So I'm just gonna kind of pick up where I left off here. And I do want to overlap this seam by just about 1 centimeter to make sure that anything that's loose on this end is accounted for, so that it's all covered. We're just covering our bases by making sure that that's sewn over. There we go. Now it's all put together properly. So I have my first little section here. It's all done. You almost have a quilt. One more thing about sewing these together, you're gonna have times where the fabric tries to kind of like fold over on itself, and you're gonna get little tucks. For this fabric, with how many layers we're working with, and it's the flannel and it's thicker, if you're not using a walking foot, it's just gonna kind of happen. The best way we can like account for this is just checking every time on every square to make sure that your pieces are not too different in size. This is what I was referring to on a tuck. The good news is this pattern is really forgiving, because by the time you get this in and you cut it, you will never see those little tucks. I get them frequently on this, especially if not using a walking foot, like I said, but you're not going to notice that once the quilt is all done. So now it's time for our next video where I show you how to finish this quilt.